the Emerson's is a yoga philosophy that extends back to the teachings of Krishnamacharya, which means Krishnamacharya was Pattabhi Jois's teacher, and this is our lineage. And Krishnamacharya believed that a yoga practice should be suitable and appropriate for the student. And so no matter what your background is, as far as what trainings you've taken, you're going to be getting a summary of classical Ashtanga. And we're going to go into how can we make the practice accessible to our students on a day-to-day basis. And so when I'm teaching at the rec center, which I do for my community, which is right around the corner from my house, I can walk there. The teachings have to be appropriate. So I've had to develop techniques of working with people that have never really practiced yoga and start to sneak things in basically to get them stronger. Some of those moves include the dolphin. If you follow me, you know I love the dolphin. And also incorporating cross training. And when I teach cross training, we still use Ujjayi breath. We also use the wall as a way to train for handstands so that you can really get stronger without feeling you have to be able to balance and transition from handstands. I love using the wall because the wall is going to bring you into alignment and you're going to be able to learn how to stack your joints so that eventually you will be able to balance in the middle of the room. Another big part of my training is developing a holistic approach to yoga that can support you through the different stages of life. And in my yoga journey, I've had 2 children, so I've taken prenatal yoga teacher training. And I've also have studied restorative yoga, and having all of these tools in our tool bag as a yoga instructor make you more well-rounded. And so even in my most intense rocket classes that I teach, I also add in some supportive restorative sometimes at the end of my classes. The training takes place January 17th through the 21st. It's a 5-day training, and it's set up as a 50-hour continuing education in the Emerson's Vinyasa. And I really want to diversify rocket yoga and Ashtanga, which is very interesting about Sharat's latest teachings have been called a more basic type of Ashtanga, which in some ways that's what rocket is. Rocket is modified Ashtanga. For example, some of the things that Larry taught me was how to modify a vigorous practice. And so the classical Marichiasana, for example, the classical Marichiasana B, this is Marichiasana B, I have fond memories of when Larry would say, hey, just put your feet together on the floor, and now you're getting this nice hip opener, and then go into a modified Marichiasana B. And so some of these things I will introduce you to, the concept of how to incorporate the flow of Ashtanga, but make it more accessible. Also, I like to have fun with my sequences. And that's the fun of, for me, having my own studio, because I have the freedom to teach whatever I want to teach. The training is going to take place here in Cincinnati at Yoga Ah. So my studio can fit 10 yoga mats. And it is a very wholesome feeling being here at Yoga Ah and teaching from my home base. And currently I'm offering between 5 and 7 public classes a week here at my studio. And I'm averaging about 6 students in each class. And for those of you that have been teaching in big studios, this might sound like, wow, why would you only want to teach 6 students? Well, there's a lot of power in being able to work with people directly and have time to look at their bodies and have time for them to just keep coming back, so I can help them develop their practice. And the students at Yoga some of them have been practicing with me for 20 years, and that's how long I've been teaching Rocket and Ashtanga, is 24 years. And what I find is the students that have been practicing with me 20 years is they're not doing what they could do 20 years ago. And so some of my classes, everyone is just perfectly happy if they can get into one handstand at the end of class. And really, you got to ask yourself, why are you practicing yoga? Ultimately, the answer is we want to be more comfortable in our bodies, and we want a way that we can stay in touch with how we feel, and revisiting the practice every day really gives you a guide of how you feel on a day-to-day basis. And when I say that it's a therapeutic approach to Ashtanga, well, Ashtanga in its original form, primary series, was called Yoga Chikitsa, which means yoga therapy. And I'm just extending that concept a little bit more. So it's Yoga Chikitsa. And what that means is students in Ashtanga might always be taught to keep their legs perfectly straight in their forward bends. Well, in a more modified approach, bending the knees could actually be a more holistic variation for your hamstrings to open up, your lower back to open up. And everything that I do can also go back to Larry Schultz's philosophy of function over form. And so we have to be really careful and pinpoint exactly what we are teaching and why are we doing it. And so this is a big part of my trainings, is getting out of the wrong way and the right way. And people say, well, if I do that, is it still Rocket? If I do that, is it still Rocket? Well, there's going to be different journeys. There's going to be classical Rocket 1s, classical Rocket 2s, kind of want to stay kind of within the framework of those routines. But then there's the mixed level bottle rockets. And in the mixed level bottle rockets, I like to play. So, when you're coming into a transition from a half lotus, I might cue Bhardvadrasana. And I just feel like these poses go together nicely and they're really fun. And then the function over form, Larry would say, put your foot on the floor, walk your hands forward, open your joints. So I'm inviting everybody here to Cincinnati for the launch of these Emerson's Vinyasa teacher trainings that have roots in Ashtanga and Rocket. And I want to inspire everybody to be able to teach to the masses. Rocket training is great for developing your personal practice, but also at the same time, we want to remain open and flexible to make these teachings accessible practice. And I'm also going to be giving you the tools, hopefully more tools for your home practice. So be inspired, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. It is truly a gift to be able to have a voice. It is a gift to be able to be here talking about yoga with you, because that means my breath and my spirit are with me in my body right now, and I have this vehicle for teaching. So always give gratitude for what you have and in the simple things, and reach out to me anytime. Okay, so you can email me yogastudio@gmail.com, or you can text me at 513-542-9642. So once again, be inspired, everybody. 24